Hi, my name is Jen Lewis and I am the Outreach and Fundraising Manager here at the Point Cabrillo Lightkeepers Association. We are the nonprofit that manages the education and the maintenance out here at the lighthouse. Today, I'm going to introduce you to 4 amazing women who are also PCLK staff, our education team that is going to teach you a little bit more about the whales that pass by our coastline. I hope you have a great time and let's jump right in.
Hello, my name is Sue and I'm a naturalist here at Point Cabrillo. This is a California state park located off the Mendocino coast, about 3 hours just north of San Francisco. And joining me later on in this video will be Heather and Katie and Pam, other naturalists that work for Point Cabrillo, and we're going to share with you some information about, that's right, whales. And if you've been lucky enough to see whales like I have, you have been impacted in an incredible way. I took a boat out of Noyo Harbor here in Fort Bragg, actually for an Audubon trip to go look for birds, but we saw spouts and the captain was great enough to bring us closer. The spouts were super big and the body of the whale just kept on coming up to the surface, and it turned out to be blue whales, the biggest animal on the planet. And we were close enough that I could see its blowhole close up before it went back under the water. It was truly amazing. So stay tuned so you can learn some more information about our friends, the whales. So we're going to jump right in and start learning about whales with you here. This is one of our many signs that you can see when you walk here at Point Cabrillo on your way down to the lighthouse. Take a moment and read it to yourself. Now, I'll read it with you aloud. What is warm-blooded, travels more than 10,000 miles every year, and is longer than a school bus? Anybody know? Drum roll. Brrr. That's right, a gray whale. Here's our friend Gracie. She's our puppet that we use to show kids like you and grown-ups too about the gray whales. So, different from us, whales don't have the nose at the tip of their face. Their noses move to the top of their head up here, and it's called a blowhole. And that's where they breathe, out of the top of their head. And then instead of hands and arms, they have fins or flippers on either side. That helps them go down and come back up in the water. And then we look at the back here. I grew up calling it a whale tail, but it's called a fluke. Can you say fluke? And that's what they call the tail of the whale. And then can you see these interesting little bumps right here? These are dorsal ridges, also called knuckles. So blowhole, flippers, fluke. And the other amazing thing about gray whales is they're one of the few whales that have a lot of barnacles on them. And I'm going to show you what barnacles look like. Barnacles are these amazing animals that live on the gray whale. They hitch a ride essentially, and they can filter feed while they're hanging out on the gray whale. We have no idea if it hurts them or not, but we just know that the gray whale probably got its name of gray whale because of the barnacles adding to that gray color of the whale. Okay, and here we are at another sign. So why don't you take a moment to read it yourself quietly, and then I'll read it aloud with you. Okay, here we go. Ready? What do whales, cows, dogs, cats, and people have in common? What do you think? Did you guess mammals? That they're all mammals? That's right, they're all mammals. Hello again. I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about what makes a mammal a mammal. So, take your hands, put them up against your neck. Are you cold or are you warm? I don't know about you, in this moment I'm feeling pretty darn warm. I feel warm most of the time. That's right, mammals are warm-blooded. What's something that we do all day long but we don't even think about it? It just happens automatically. If you guessed breathing air, that's another thing about mammals. They breathe air. with our friends the whales, they have their blowhole on top. And so when they come up they exhale and then they take in a breath of air. And the spout that we see is the warm breath that they're exhaling, mixing with the cold air of the ocean, creating condensation, which makes the spout happen. Sort of like with us on a cold morning when we exhale, we can see our breath. Pretty amazing stuff. Let's see, what else? Were you hatched out of an egg? Was your dog hatched out of an egg? Your cat? Gray whales, are they hatched out of eggs? I don't think so, sillies. That's right, mammals have live birth. And did you drink orange juice when you were born first thing? Coca-Cola? I don't think so. Mammals also nurse from their moms and they drink milk. Pretty amazing stuff. All right, now I'm thinking of one more thing. What about this stuff? That's right, mammals have hair or fur. And let's review it. So, mammals are warm-blooded, breathe air, have live birth, nurse from their young, and have hair or fur. And I know you're thinking, Sue, you can't tell me that whales have hair or fur, but actually when they're born, whales have little whiskers that help them sense things in the water. All land mammals and marine mammals have these characteristics in common. Okay, here we are at another one of our amazing signs. Take a moment and read the questions to yourself quietly. All right, let's try it together. Do gray whales have teeth? Do gray whales have belly buttons? What do you think? Do you think gray whales have teeth? No, they don't. They have stuff in their mouth that's called baleen. Can you say that? Baleen. You got it. How about, do you think gray whales have belly buttons? It's kind of a strange thing to wonder about, right? Well, they do actually, because they're mammals just like us. You got it. Pretty funny to think about a whale with a belly button, right? Hey, I wanted to share with you some of the answers to those questions we read on the trail. So remember when I asked you, do whales have teeth? Well, we mentioned up there that some whales have baleen, and the gray whale has baleen in its mouth. But I'm going to let Katie explain to you a little bit more about that. But that's what it looks like, and it hangs from the top of their mouth. And then that question about, do whales have belly buttons? So silly to wonder about. But remember, all mammals have live birth. And so we all grew inside of our mom's bellies, and our belly buttons are evidence of that. So yes, whales do have belly buttons. We just don't see them because we're here on land. When I whale watch, I like to say, show us your belly button. So maybe they'll breach and come out and show me their belly button. And then the amazing thing about our friends, the gray whale calves, that's what you call a gray whale baby, is when they're born in those nice protected lagoons in Baja, they get brought to the surface to take that first breath of air, and then they nurse from their mom, who's got milk and high in fat that they nurse off of, and they can gain up to 60 to 75 pounds in a day. That's probably about as much as you all weigh. And when they're born, they weigh 2,000 pounds, which is about as heavy as a cow. Pretty amazing. And they're about 15 feet long. And so if I was to lay myself out 3 times, that's about how long a gray whale calf is. And so they spend that time nursing and getting strong so that they can make that migration up north back to Alaska with their mom.
Hi, I'm Heather, another one of the Point Cabrillo education team members. One of my favorite whale moments was recently in Maui, where I got a chance to kayak with humpback whales. It was quite a thrill being in a tiny little boat as these acrobatic giants leaped out of the water all around us and splashed back down. By the way, do you know what we call it when whales jump out of the water like that? That's right, we call it breaching. So our gray whales are also known to breach from time to time. Why are these, how big are these whales anyway? So I'll let you read this sign to yourself first. An adult gray whale is about as long as from here to this next sign down the hill. Actually, it might be a little longer than that. got a better way to show you. Do you like puzzles? This 80-piece puzzle is probably larger than the ones at your house because it's the actual size of a gray whale. They average over 45 feet. This puzzle of a mother gray whale and her calf was created by the famous artist J.D. Mayhew in 1998. So this gives you an idea of how big gray whales are, but I have something else I want to show you for scale. These marine mammals have bones a lot like ours. Let's talk about our vertebrae. Those are the bones that make up your spine and help protect your spinal cord. About how big do you think a human vertebrae is? They're about this big, right? Okay, go ahead and find one of the vertebrae on your neck. Now touch your vertebrae, check out the size and shape of it, and close your eyes. All right, now open your eyes. This is the vertebrae of a gray whale, and this is where the spinal cord goes through the vertebrae. What about our rib bones? Go ahead and check out your rib cage, find one of your rib bones, and see how big it is from end to end. I would say about this big. Okay, now put your hands on your rib bone and close your eyes. Okay, now open them. This is the rib bone of the gray whale. Imagine the size of its entire rib cage. What about your scapula? What the heck is your scapula? Well, that's your shoulder blade. So go ahead and check out your shoulder blade. So that's the triangle bone right here. How big is a human shoulder blade? About this big, right? Okay, put your hand on your shoulder blade and close your eyes one more time. Okay, now open them. Here's the size of a gray whale shoulder blade. So those are just the bones of the gray whales. We haven't even talked about the sizes of the other whales that we see here at Point Cabrillo. Let's go check it out. Now, I'll give you a chance to read this sign to yourself first. Okay, put these three whales in order of size, largest to smallest. Gray whale, blue whale, and humpback whale. Let's go find out the answer to that question. We're comparing the sizes of these three whales that we were just talking about. Let's start with the gray whale. So a gray whale averages around 45 feet long. That is about the distance between where I'm standing and where Pam's standing, which is about the length of a school bus. What about the humpback whale? Well, humpback whales are around 56 feet long, which is from where I'm standing to where Pam's standing now. And if you thought that the blue whale was the largest of the three whales, you were right. Blue whales are about 98 feet long, which is longer than 2 school buses. So that's from where I'm standing all the way to where Pam's standing now. They're the largest animals on the planet. Gray whales weigh around 30 to 40 tons. Why are they so humongous? Well, the reason these whales are so big is that they have to store a lot of energy. Imagine if you had to do all of your eating for the whole year in just a few months. Do you think you would be able to store enough energy to swim 6,000 to 12,000 miles? Whales store these calories as blubber, which is sort of like fat. For the whales, this is like storing a bunch of traveling refrigerators full of high-calorie food for their long journey. But where are they going? To find out more about whale migration, let's go check in with our friend Katie.
Hi everybody, my name's Katie. I'm part of the education team here at Point Cabrillo. One of my favorite whale memories is the time I was sitting on the beach with a group of friends and all of a sudden this small group of whales started splashing around and playing in the shallow water so close to where we were sitting. We watched them for like half an hour probably, or maybe even more. And I don't know if they even knew we were there or cared, but they seemed so friendly. It was almost like they were putting on a private performance just for us. Well, in this segment, we're going to be talking about gray whale migration. Is anyone familiar with that word, migration? It refers to moving from one place or habitat to another. It usually follows the seasons. There are a lot of animals that do it, like hummingbirds, monarch butterflies, Canada geese, and African elephants. Some people do it too. Well, gray whales are really special because they travel such long distances. Of all of the mammals in the world, their migration is one of the longest. So here on the whale trail, we have some signs to get us started out. Come with me and we'll check it out. So here we are at our sign. How about if you take a chance first to read this quietly to yourself? Ready? Go ahead. Now let's read it one more time together. Ready? Here we go. Land animals migrate to find food, shelter, or mates. Why do gray whales migrate? Have you got the answer? Or do you have a guess? Well, hold on to that thought. Let's head back down to the headlands and we can talk about it a little bit more while you get a great ocean view. Okay, here we go. Hey everybody, it's a glorious day in April here at Point Cabrillo. Do you know which way that whales are headed right now? If you think they're headed north toward Alaska, point that way. If you think they're headed south toward Baja, point that way. Well, if you pointed north, you are right. Right now, the whales are headed up to Alaska to their summer feeding grounds. To answer our earlier question from the whale signs, gray whales spend their winter down in the warm waters of Baja where they give birth, raise their babies, and find mates. In the summer, they head up to Alaska because that's where they get an all-you-can-eat Alaskan seafood buffet. So let's look at that migration route on the map. In the summer, gray whales spend their time up in the Arctic off Alaska in the Chukchi and the Bering Seas. They eat as much as they can. Then around Halloween, when the weather starts getting cold and the ice starts to form, they begin their southward migration. They go around the corner of Alaska and head all the way down the coast. Around November and December, they're passing us by here in Mendocino, and they keep swimming, and after 2 to 3 months of non-stop swimming, they finally reach their goal down here in Baja, Mexico. This is where the babies are born, mostly in January, and after only a couple of months, they start heading back north. So now they're swimming north, north, north. Here they are right now in April here at Point Cabrillo, and they're gonna keep swimming north until by early summer, most of them will have arrived back up here in Alaska at the Bering Sea. It takes them 10 to 14,000 miles to go all the way down and back, or 6,000 miles just to go one way. That's a pretty long way. Do you think that sounds like a fun way of life? Well, what do you think gray whales like to eat? Their favorite food are tiny shrimp-like creatures called amphipods. Can you say amphipod? They also eat a variety of other small animals, including krill, zooplankton, crab larvae, tube worms, herring eggs, and baby squid. Now hang on just a second, let me show you a picture. Can you see it? This picture represents one tiny krill on a human fingertip. Wow, isn't that tiny? It's really amazing to imagine that some of the largest creatures on Earth survive by eating some of the smallest ones. So earlier with Sue, you talked about belly buttons, right? But how about teeth? Do gray whales have teeth? No, instead they have baleen, right? Baleen is adapted so that it is especially useful to the way gray whales eat. Let me show you a real live piece. Hang on. This is a real live piece of baleen from a gray whale. It's made out of keratin, just like our hair and our fingernails. Keratin is a type of protein. Baleen hangs from the top of the whale's mouth like this, and it has kind of a filtering effect, or it's sort of like a fine-toothed comb. If you notice, the outside is smooth while the inside is rough, kind of like Velcro. That's what helps the tiny critters get stuck. Gray whales have a unique way of eating that's like no other whale. They're bottom-feeding scum suckers. That's right, just like my friend Gracie here, they like to take a deep dive down to the very bottom of the ocean, and laying on their side, they scoop up all that nutrient-rich sediment. They use their mouth like a vacuum to suck it all in like this. And when they've got a giant mouthful, they start to rise slowly to the surface, using their giant 2,000-pound tongue, wagging it back and forth, back and forth. And while they're doing that, all of the water in the sediment filters through the baleen and exits their mouth. But those tiny animals, they get stuck. Then they use their tongue and they lick the inside of their baleen all around, and they gulp everything down whole. Gulp! There's no need for teeth because there's nothing to chew. Baja is a really special place for gray whales. It makes the long journey to get there well worth the effort. If you were a baby gray whale, where would you prefer to be born? In the Arctic or in Baja? That's behind me, heading south. Well, Baja certainly has its advantages. The water there is shallow and warm. The coves provide protection from big waves and most predators, and the high salt content of the water makes it extra buoyant, easier to float, and learn how to swim. Did you know that baby gray whales learn to swim within hours of their birth? And when they're only 2 months old, they must be ready to make their first 6,000-mile migration. Now, newborn whales aren't born with a lot of blubber. That would make it difficult for them to survive up in the Arctic where the water's so cold. So before they leave, they need to put on a lot of weight and eat a whole lot of food. You think it bothers them that there's not a lot of whale food down in Baja? It doesn't bother them at all because they don't eat amphipods. They rely on mama's milk, which is 50% fat, unlike human milk, which is only 2% fat. Spending some time in Baja gives baby whales a much better chance for survival. Well, we're about to talk about the Arctic, but before we do that, why don't we head over to the other side of the point so we can have a better view facing north. Okay, come with me, and here we go. Wow, did you get a chance to check out that view as we walked around the point? Well, Baja may be a great place to raise your young whales, but if you're looking for a good place to eat, Alaska behind me is the best bet. That's because up near the North Pole, the land of the midnight sun, extended hours of sunlight combined with the oxygen-rich, cold waters produce an abundance of those tiny creatures that gray whales like to eat. In fact, did you know that an adult gray whale can eat up to 1.4 tons of those tiny amphipods in a single day? That's over 2,500 pounds. Wow, that's a lot. It's important too that they get to eat so much food while they're up there in the Arctic, because for the entire rest of the year it has to last them. That's right, on their journey down to Baja and back, most gray whales don't eat at all.
Hi, I'm Pam, the other instructor here as part of the education team at Point Cabrillo. We're back up here on the whale trail one more time to read one last of the whale signs. Hey, you want to hear one of my favorite experiences of whales? I got to go down to Mexico, to Baja, California it's called. That's where these gray whales go. And I was down there on the Pacific where we camped right next to this skinny channel where the whales came up, and I felt like I could almost touch their backs. You could even see their barnacles. That's where we camped, and all night I could hear them coming to the surface and exhaling before their next breath, breathing just like me. Okay, here's our sign. Let's read it. I'll let you read it first. Gray whales swim about 4 to 5 miles per hour. How many hours does it take them to swim 100 miles? Don't panic, it's math, but I've got a simple example for you. I've got something in my pocket that also equals 100. $1, right? That's 100 cents. Now I've got something else in this pocket that also equals $1. 4 quarters, 25, 50, 75, 100. So 4 into 100 is about 25 times, or in this case, about 25 hours for them to swim 100 miles. That's basically a day, 24 hours. So they're swimming about 100 miles a day. That's like between here and San Francisco. So let's go down and look for them on the headlands. Okay, we're down here at the point now, and I want to show you one more picture. Heather showed you a couple of the bones of the gray whale, but this picture shows you the whole skeleton. And if you notice in this picture, there's something that might look familiar. Underneath their fins is what looks like their hand. And back here, still in the skeleton of gray whales, is a little piece of the pelvis. What that makes scientists think is that long ago, millions and millions of years ago, the ancestors of the gray whales used to be on land. From the fossils, it says that the gray whale's ancestors had limbs to walking on land. Have lost those over the millions of years and evolved to have the fluke, which is much better for swimming. All right, we're out here at the point of Point Cabrillo. It's a great place for a lighthouse and also a great place to look for the whales. It's early morning. It's the best time to look for whales when there's no wind yet, so those spouts stay up longer, and the sun is at our back, so it's easier to see those spouts. Now in the springtime, middle April through the beginning of May, is a great time to see those moms and calves, the last ones coming up from Baja, from the south and traveling north up to Alaska. So what we're looking for is a V-shaped spout. Gray whales, like all of our baleen whales, have the 2 blowholes. So the spout comes out in a V shape. And with gray whales, it's sort of described as a bushy V. That's what we're looking as they come to the surface to exhale and get their next breath. Typically, gray whales do a few shallow dives and then the deeper dive. And the deeper dive is when sometimes we get to see their back and maybe even their fluke as they go down for a longer, deeper dive. I like to first find the whales with my eyes that can see so much more of the horizon. And then I use the binoculars if you have them. My tip for the binoculars is for you to look first, and when you see the spout, keep your eye on the spout and then bring the binoculars up to where you're looking. That makes it much easier. The nice thing about this springtime when the gray whale moms and calves are coming by is they come in even closer to the cliffs. She keeps her baby on the inside, protecting it from predators. Can you think of who might attack a baby gray whale? Sharks or some of the orcas are predators of the gray whales. So sometimes we can even see their spouts in between the channel right here at the point where you can even get a good look at those barnacles.
We sure hope that you've enjoyed learning about whales, especially our gray whales. And we want to leave you with a story of hope, because we know it's kind of hard sometimes. You probably know about an animal that's either threatened or endangered, or ones that are going extinct. So when you feel sad, we hope that you'll think about the gray whales as your story of hope. You know why? Because years ago, many years ago, they used to hunt for whales because there was no electricity. Hard to imagine, right? But when there was no electricity, people went after the whales because they used their blubber for light in those oil lanterns. So ships would come and harpoon the whales and bring them to the ship and kill them that way for their blubber. and that would pay for a season of their ships.
They went after the largest whales first. And then when those couldn't be found anymore, they went after the smaller whales like the gray whale. Gray whales were easy to find, close to shore. It got a lot worse in the 1890s when they discovered the birthing grounds in Baja, California. In Baja, the ships would block off the lagoons so the whales couldn't escape. They got the nickname devilfish for the way the moms would ram the ships with their heads to try to protect their babies. The lagoons ran red with the blood of the whales as they slaughtered everyone that they found. At this point, the population dropped to about 2,000.
Then came the steam-powered ships with their mechanized factories on board. They were able to catch several whales in a single day. And after that, on the East Coast, unfortunately, gray whales went extinct from overfishing. That's right, now there are no more gray whales left in the Atlantic Ocean. Here on our coast in the Pacific, their number was down to somewhere around 250 individuals by 1930. Most species go extinct when their numbers get so low, but just in the nick of time, Mexico spoke up. They raised the alarm and they said, "Hey, there are hardly any gray whales left here in the wintertime. We don't need to kill gray whales. We have electricity now. Let's stop using them for fuel." And they banned all fishing for whales in Mexican waters. Well, fortunately, the international community got on board. And by 1946, the International Whaling Commission banned all whaling for commercial purposes.
And so the conclusion of the story is our one of hope. When we protected the gray whale and their habitat, their population has come back. They believe their numbers are now over 20,000 gray whales. They were taken off of the endangered species list in 1994. This is what I want you to remember with your heart, that if we give nature half a chance, she has a great ability to come back. Now, you know what happens in those lagoons in Baja? My friend went down there, and I so want to do this. She went out with a guide in a small Zodiac boat, and the mother whale came up to the boat, and belly up, she held the boat steady with one of her fins. And with her other fin, she brought her baby up to the boat so that people could reach over and pet the baby whale. This mother was teaching her baby that humans were okay. Please remember when you get sad, if we can help to protect the homes and habitats of animals, they have the same ability to come back, just like the gray whale. Well, this ends our time of our talk here at Point Cabrillo. We so hope that you will be able to come soon and enjoy this for yourself. Gray whales traveling right by our coast, just like they have done for millions and millions of years. We hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you to our incredible team of educators here at Point Cabrillo. Sue, Heather, Katie, and Pam, you guys are rock stars. Another huge thank you to our 2020 Point Cabrillo Lightkeepers Association Board of Directors, Tanya, Ruth, Harold, Warren, Steve, Scott, Bruce, and Sarah. We couldn't do any of this without you guys. And last but not least, thank you to all of you for watching our very first education team video. We are super excited to bring you even more great content from Point Cabrillo. See you at the lighthouse.